The golden age of human space exploration ended the moment Ambassador Sarah Chun received the Galactic Council's final verdict. Standing in the crystalline chambers of Station Nexus, surrounded by representatives from 47 alien species, she watched in horror as each delegation cast their vote. The motion to classify humanity as a servant species passes unanimously, announced High Arbiter Vexthal, his 6 eyes gleaming with cold satisfaction. Effective immediately, all human settlements fall under collective galactic stewardship. Sarah's hands trembled as she gripped the podium. 3 years of negotiations, cultural exchanges, and desperate diplomatic efforts had led to this moment. Behind her, the small human delegation stood frozen in disbelief. Around them, alien representatives chittered, hummed, and gestured in what could only be described as celebration. "You cannot be serious," Sarah whispered, her voice carrying across the chamber's perfect acoustics. "We came here in peace. We offered trade, knowledge, friendship. You offered nothing we do not already possess," interrupted Counselor Zephyr, her crystalline form pulsing with disdain. "Your species is primitive, violent, and resource-hungry, but your physical capabilities and reproductive rate make you ideal laborers." The Threnodide delegate, resembling a massive insectoid mantis, clicked its mandibles approvingly. Humans adapt well to hostile environments, perfect for mining operations in the Outer Rim. Sarah felt bile rise in her throat. "This is slavery. You're talking about enslaving 4 billion people." High Arbiter Vexthal's tentacles writhed in what Sarah had learned was amusement. "Slavery is such an ugly word, Ambassador. We prefer guided integration. Your species will serve the greater galactic good while learning proper civilization from your betters." The vote tally holographically displayed above them. 47 species in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions. Not a single voice had spoken for humanity. "The Covenant of Species has existed for 12,000 years, continued Vexthal. "Never has a new member been granted immediate equality. Every species must prove their worth through service. Unfortunately, your species evaluation period has been extended indefinitely." Sarah's aide, Lieutenant Marcus Webb, stepped forward. "What about our colonies? Our families?" Counselor Zephyr's form brightened with malicious joy. "Collection fleets are already en route to your settlements. Resistance is futile and will result in termination. Compliance ensures survival." The chamber erupted in alien sounds of approval. Sarah watched species that seemed friendly during cultural exchanges now reveal their true nature. The philosophical Eldrani, who had shared poetry about universal brotherhood, nodded sagely. The supposedly peaceful harmony collective hummed in unison, their bioluminescent patterns flashing with excitement. "You have 72 hours to transmit surrender orders to all human settlements," Vexthal declared. "Failure to comply will result in orbital bombardment of major population centers." Sarah's mind raced. Earth's defense fleet was scattered across a dozen systems, exploring and establishing trade routes. Most colonies had minimal military presence. They had come to Galaxy with open hands, not clenched fists. "There will be consequences," Sarah said, surprising herself with the steadiness of her voice. Humans don't accept injustice quietly. The alien laughter that followed was like broken glass scraping against metal. Vexthal's massive form loomed over her. "Your species' capacity for violence is precisely why you make excellent servants," he said. "Channel that aggression into productive labor, and you might survive long enough to evolve beyond your primitive nature." As security drones surrounded the human delegation, Sarah caught sight of the viewing screens showing Earth. Her beautiful blue-green homeworld hung in space, unaware that its children had just been condemned to bondage. Cities sparkled with lights, unaware that collection fleets were already calculating optimal extraction points. The escort to their detention quarters felt like a funeral march. Lieutenant Webb walked beside her, his jaw clenched tight enough to shatter teeth. "Ma'am," he whispered, "what do we do?" Sarah looked at the alien guards surrounding them, their weapons casually displayed but ready. Beyond the station's transparent walls, she could see the assembled fleets of 47 species, their ships bristling with technology humans could barely comprehend. "We survive," she said quietly, "and we remember every face in that chamber." The detention quarters were luxurious by prison standards, but insulting compared to their previous diplomatic accommodations. As the doors sealed shut, Sarah felt the weight of her species' future crushing down on her shoulders. She activated her personal communicator, knowing it would likely be her last free transmission to Earth. President Chen's face appeared, his expression hopeful. "Sarah, how did the vote go?" She took a shaky breath, then delivered the words that would change humanity forever. "Dad, tell everyone prepare for the worst. We're no longer free." The signal cut to static as alien jammers activated. Outside their window, the first collection fleets began moving toward Earth's coordinates, carrying chains for an entire species. 6 months later, the mining asteroid designated Theta 7 echoed with the sounds of human suffering. Dr. Elena Vasquez pressed her face against a recycled air filtration unit, trying to catch a breath that didn't taste of metal and despair. Around her, 200 humans worked 18-hour shifts extracting rare minerals under the watchful eyes of Threnodai overseers. The insectoid guards clicked their mandibles whenever a human slowed, sending electric shocks through the neural collars every worker wore. Elena had learned to recognize the warning signs, the subtle shift in mandible position, the way their compound eyes focused. She ducked as a shock wave passed over her head, meant for the exhausted woman struggling with a plasma cutter nearby. "Keep moving, Dr. Vasquez," whispered James Park, the former terraforming engineer working beside her. "They're watching." Elena nodded, returning to her task of cataloging mineral samples. Her doctorate in xenobiology had made her valuable enough to avoid the heavy labor assignments, but valuable also meant closely monitored. Every alien species seemed fascinated by human intelligence when properly directed. The massive hangar doors opened with a mechanical groan, admitting another transport ship filled with new arrivals. Elena's heart broke as she watched families torn apart. Adults sorted by physical capabilities, children separated for educational programs that everyone knew were indoctrination camps. Among the new arrivals, she spotted a familiar face. Commander David Torres, formerly of the Earth Defense Fleet, now wearing the same gray prisoner uniform as everyone else. His left arm was in a crude sling, and his eyes held the hollow look of someone who had seen too much. During the lunch break, a 15-minute period for consuming nutritional paste, Elena managed to approach him. "Commander," she said quietly, sitting beside him on the metal bench. "What happened to the fleet?" Torres stared at his food without eating. "Ambushed at the Jupiter station. They had our tactical frequencies, our ship specifications, even our personal communication codes." He looked up, his eyes filled with bitter rage. Someone gave them everything. The Eldrani claimed they were preventing unnecessary violence by ensuring our swift defeat. Elena felt her stomach turn. The philosophical poets who had shared their wisdom about universal consciousness had betrayed every human strategic secret. "How many ships did we lose?" "All of them," Torres said flatly. 43 vessels, 12,000 crew members. Some died fighting. Others are scattered across labor camps throughout the galaxy. I heard the Harmony Collective is using our engineers to build more efficient containment systems. The irony was crushing. Human ingenuity, turned against humans by the very species they had hoped to befriend. "There's something else," Torres continued, his voice dropping to barely a whisper. "Before my ship was destroyed, I managed to send a coded transmission to the Deep Space Research Station at Alpha Centauri. They might still be free." Elena's pulse quickened. The research station was humanity's most advanced facility, home to their experimental weapons development and AI research programs. If it had escaped the initial roundup, "Dr. Vasquez, Worker 7739J, a mechanical voice announced through facility speakers. Report to Laboratory Section C for assignment review." Elena's blood went cold. Assignment reviews usually meant transfer to a more specialized facility, or worse, the genetic modification program she'd heard whisper about in the dormitories. Torres grabbed her arm. "Whatever they want, give them just enough to stay alive. Nothing more." She nodded and made her way through the maze of corridors toward Laboratory Section C. The walls were lined with screens displaying propaganda about the benefits of guided integration. showing happy humans working alongside alien supervisors. The images made her physically ill. Laboratory Section C turned out to be a sterile medical facility where 3 different alien species waited. The Eldrani's crystalline form hummed with intellectual curiosity, while Vorthan scientists manipulated holographic displays with its tentacled appendages. Most disturbing was the presence of a Nexery, the species renowned for their biotechnology expertise. Dr. Vasquez, the Eldrani spoke in its musical voice. Your expertise in biological systems has been noted. We have an opportunity for you to contribute to a project of galactic significance. The holographic displays showed human genetic sequences alongside alien DNA patterns. Elena's scientific training helped her understand what she was seeing, and the knowledge made her want to vomit. You're trying to create hybrid species, she said, unable to hide her revulsion. The Nexery's multiple eyes focused on her with predatory interest. Humans possess remarkable adaptability. Combined with our technological enhancements and the Vorthan intellectual capacity, we could create the perfect servant class. I won't help you, Elena said firmly. The Eldrani's form dimmed slightly. That would be unfortunate. You see, we have already begun preliminary experiments. Your choice is whether to guide the process humanely or watch as we proceed through trial and error. On the screens, Elena saw images that would haunt her forever. Humans strapped to tables, their bodies altered in ways that defied nature and dignity. Children barely recognizable as human, their enhanced strength being tested against industrial equipment. Your cooperation could save considerable suffering, the Vorthan added, its mental voice echoing in her skull. Resistance only prolongs the inevitable. Elena closed her eyes, thinking of the research station Torres had mentioned. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, free humans might still be planning humanity's response to this nightmare. I need time to consider, she said finally. The aliens exchanged what might have been satisfied expressions. You have 48 hours, the Nexery declared. Then we proceed with or without your guidance. As guards escorted her back to the dormitories, Elena began formulating a desperate plan. If she was going to betray her species' genetic secrets, she would find a way to make that betrayal cut both ways. The abandoned research station at Alpha Centauri hummed with desperate activity as Dr. Sarah Kim stared at the holographic display showing Earth's fate. For 8 months, the station's 300 survivors had watched in horror as every human settlement fell to alien collection fleets. Now, hidden in the outer system's asteroid field, they represented humanity's last free pocket of resistance. The quantum communication ray is finally ready, announced Chief Engineer Robert Hayes, his face gone from months of rationed meals. We can establish secure contact with the resistance cells in the labor camps. Sarah nodded, though her attention remained fixed on the tactical display. As the station's former xenobiology director and now reluctant military commander, she spent every waking hour planning humanity's response to galactic slavery. Signal strength, strong enough to reach 17 different facilities across 3 sectors, Hayes replied. The aliens don't even know this frequency exists. It's based on quantum entanglement principles they haven't discovered yet. The irony wasn't lost on Sarah. Humanity's supposedly primitive technology was advancing in directions their captors couldn't anticipate. While alien science focused on biological manipulation and energy weapons, humans have been exploring quantum mechanics and theoretical physics that the galactic community considered impossible. Patch me through to the mining facility at Theta 7, Sarah ordered. I want to speak with Dr. Vasquez. The communication system crackled to life, and Elena's voice emerged through layers of quantum encryption. Sarah? My God, you're alive. For now, Sarah replied grimly. Elena, I need a complete analysis of alien physiology. Every species holding human prisoners. Weaknesses, vulnerabilities, anything we can exploit. There was a long pause before Elena responded. They're forcing me to work on hybrid experiments. I've learned things about their biology that will horrify you, but also opportunities. Sarah leaned forward. What kind of opportunities? The Nexery depend on a specific type of bacterial symbiosis for their immune systems. The Threnidae have a neurological vulnerability to certain electromagnetic frequencies. The Eldrani's crystalline structure resonates at a frequency that could shatter them completely. Around the command center, the surviving scientists and engineers exchange meaningful glances. For months, they had been developing weapons based on theoretical principles. Now, they had actual targets. "Elena, I need you to do something that will put you in incredible danger," Sarah said. "Can you modify the hybrid experiments to include a genetic kill switch?" Another pause, longer this time. "You're talking about biological warfare on a galactic scale." "I'm talking about survival," Sarah replied coldly. "They want to use our genetics against us. Let's give them exactly what they're asking for." Dr. Marcus Webb, the former diplomat's aide who had escaped during a prisoner transport, stepped forward. "Sarah, the moral implications." "Moral implications?" Sarah's voice rose dangerously. "They voted unanimously to enslave our entire species. They're experimenting on our children, forcing our people to build weapons against us, and treating us like livestock. Tell me about moral implications when every human child is free." The command center fell silent. Everyone present had lost family members to the alien collection fleets. Everyone had seen the propaganda broadcasts showing humans reduced to beasts of burden across the galaxy. "What's the plan?" Elena asked finally. Sarah activated the main display, showing star charts covering 3 galactic sectors. Operation Prometheus. "We're going to steal fire from the gods and burn their civilization to ash." She highlighted 17 different systems. Each marked location contains a major alien population center or military installation. We've spent 8 months analyzing their technology, their weaknesses, their dependencies. While they've been congratulating themselves on enslaving humanity, we've been preparing to end their species. Hayes brought up technical schematics on secondary displays. "We've developed 7 different extinction-level weapons based on species-specific vulnerabilities. Quantum viruses that target crystalline life forms, electromagnetic pulse bombs tuned to insectoid nervous systems, biological agents that corrupt symbiotic relationships. The beauty of it," added Dr. Lisa Chun, the station's former weapons researcher, "is that each weapon only affects one species. We can eliminate our captors while leaving their conquered populations intact." Elena's voice came through communicator with a mixture of awe and horror. "You're planning to commit genocide against 47 species simultaneously." "They committed genocide against us first," Sarah replied without hesitation. "The only difference is that we're going to finish the job." The tactical display showed the current positions of human resistance cells throughout the galaxy, maintenance workers in alien shipyards, scientists in research facilities, engineers in manufacturing plants. Thousands of humans pretending to be broken while secretly preparing for war. "Every human in every facility has been preparing for this moment," Sarah continued. "We've sabotaged their manufacturing systems, introduced fatal flaws in their ship designs, and infiltrated their communication networks. When we activate Operation Prometheus, the galaxy will learn what human fury looks like." Elena's voice was barely a whisper. "When?" Sarah looked around Command Center, meeting the eyes of every survivor. These people had lost everything to alien greed and cruelty. Now they were about to reclaim humanity's future with unprecedented violence. 72 hours, she announced. The same deadline they gave us when this started. 47 species voted to enslave humanity. In 72 hours, those 47 species will no longer exist. The quantum communicator crackled as resistance cells across the galaxy acknowledged the timeline. In mining facilities, manufacturing plants, research laboratories, and prison ships, humans began the final preparations for their coordinated response. Dr. Webb approached Sarah privately. "Are you sure about this? Once we cross this line, there's no going back." Sarah stared at the images of enslaved human children being sorted for genetic modification. "They crossed the line first, Marcus. We're just showing them what the other side looks like." As the Alpha Centauri station prepared for humanity's most decisive moment, Sarah felt the weight of her species' future in her hands. In 72 hours, either humanity would be free, or the galaxy would be a very empty place. The moment of humanity's vengeance began at exactly 0800 Universal Standard Time across 17 star systems simultaneously. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched through the laboratory windows as Theta 7's alien overseers began their morning routines, unaware that their species had less than an hour to live. The hybrid experiment she had been forced to conduct contained her masterpiece of sabotage, a genetic retrovirus hidden within the modified human DNA that would activate when exposed to the Nexary's natural pheromone signature. Every hybrid created in the past month was about to become a biological weapon against their creators. Initiate Phase 1 came Sarah Kim's voice through Elena's hidden quantum communicator. Across the facility, human workers began their carefully choreographed rebellion. James Park, the terraforming engineer, activated the modified plasma cutters that had been secretly reprogrammed to emit the exact electromagnetic frequency that would liquefy Threnodian nervous systems. The insectoid guards' mandibles clicked in confusion for exactly 3 seconds before their compound eyes exploded in showers of green fluid. The neural collars that kept humans obedient for 8 months suddenly became weapons themselves. Elena had spent weeks gradually introducing modifications to the control systems, and now those modifications activated simultaneously. Instead of delivering pain to human nervous systems, the collars began broadcasting the Eldrani's death frequency, a resonance pattern that would shatter their crystalline bodies like wine glasses hit by opera singers. Throughout the facility, alien overseers began dying in ways their species had never imagined possible. But Theta 7 was just one node in humanity's galaxy-spanning assault. At the Vorthan Research Facility in the Proxima Sector, human scientists who had been forced to improve alien technology activated the quantum viruses they had secretly embedded in every system. The tentacle creatures' advanced brains, so proud of their mental superiority, began eating themselves from the inside as their own thoughts became weapons against their neural pathways. Commander Torres, who had been transferred to a Harmony collective manufacturing plant, watched with grim satisfaction as the supposedly peaceful species discovered that their bioluminescent communication system had been turned into a death beacon. Every pulse of light they used to coordinate their actions now carried encoded instructions that corrupted their cellular structure at the genetic level. The coordination was perfect, the result of 8 months of meticulous planning. As one species died, their death throes triggered automated systems that targeted the next species on humanity's list. The Galactic Council's interconnected communication network, which had been designed to unite 47 species in their domination of humanity, became the delivery system for their simultaneous extinction. High Arbiter Vexthal was in the middle of reviewing progress reports on human productivity when his personal communication device began screaming with emergency alerts. Species after species reported catastrophic casualties, their populations dying faster than they could count. "What is happening?" he demanded. His 6 eyes focused on holographic displays showing death tolls climbing exponentially across 3 galactic sectors. "The humans," whispered his aide, a crystalline being whose form was already beginning to crack as the death frequency reached the station. "They're killing us all." Vexthal's tentacles writhed in disbelief. "Impossible. They're primitive slaves. We have their families, their children." The main display activated, showing Sarah Kim's face broadcasting from the Alpha Centauri station. Her expression was cold as winter on a dead planet. "High Arbiter Vexthal," she said, her voice carrying across every communication system in the galaxy. "You wanted to teach humanity about civilization. Consider this our graduation thesis." Behind her, the display showed real-time casualty reports from across alien space. Entire species going extinct in real time, their populations dropping from billions to millions to thousands in minutes. "You made one critical error in your evaluation of our species," Sarah continued. "You assumed that because we came to you in peace, we were incapable of effective violence. You forgot that humans have been perfecting the art of war for millennia before we reached the stars." Vexthal's security forces had surrounded him, but they were dying as fast as they arrived. The biological agents Elena had helped develop were spreading through the station's air system, targeting every non-human species simultaneously. The Covenant of Species ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years. Sarah's voice echoed through corridors now filled with alien corpses. "Your reign ends today. Every species that voted to enslave humanity is being systematically exterminated. Your children, your cultures, your histories, all of it dies with you. On Theta 7, Elena watched the last Nexury scientist collapse as the retrovirus completed its work. Around her, freed humans were already taking control of alien technology, turning mining equipment into weapons and communication systems into coordination networks. Phase 2 initiated, she reported to Sarah. All alien overseers eliminated. Human casualties minimal. Similar reports came in from facilities across the galaxy. Humans who had been beaten, tortured, and enslaved for 8 months were now standing victorious over the corpses of their captors. The most advanced civilization in galactic history had been brought down by the species they had dismissed as primitive, but Sarah's plan went beyond simple extinction. As alien governments collapsed and their military forces died with their crews, automated systems that humans had infiltrated began broadcasting new messages across the galaxy. To any surviving alien populations, Sarah announced, you now live in a universe where humanity is the dominant species. Your predecessors chose to make us their enemies. You can choose to make us your allies, or you can follow them into extinction. The psychological impact was devastating. Species that had never known defeat, that had ruled the galaxy without challenge for millennia, suddenly found themselves at the mercy of the slaves they had tormented. High Arbiter Vexthal, alone now as his staff died around him, stared at the human woman who had orchestrated his species' doom. You've destroyed everything, he gasped, his tentacles already beginning to necrotize from the biological agents in the air. Sarah's expression didn't change. You destroyed everything first. We just finished the job more efficiently. As Vexthal's life faded, his last sight was of human ships emerging from hiding places throughout the galaxy, moving to claim the empty worlds their former masters had left behind. 1 year after the Purge, as historians would later call it, former Ambassador Sarah Chin stood on the observation deck of the newly christened Humanity's Pride, orbiting what had once been the Galactic Council's capital world. The planet below was being transformed, its alien architecture torn down, and replaced with human settlements built by workers who had chosen freedom over the slavery their predecessors had imposed. The galaxy was a very different place. Of the 47 species that had voted to enslave humanity, none remained. Their worlds, their technology, their vast accumulated wealth, all now belonged to the 4 billion humans who had survived the darkest chapter in their species' history. The psychological evaluations are complete, reported Dr. Elena Vasquez, now serving as Director of Xenobiological Research for the new Human Galactic Authority. The remaining species show appropriate levels of submission and terror. There have been no incidents of rebellion in 6 months. Sarah nodded. Her attention focused on the screens, showing human colonies expanding across former alien territories. Children who had been destined for genetic modification programs were now playing in parks built on the ruins of their former prison camps. Adults who had worked as slaves in alien mines were now the owners of entire star systems. What about the integration programs? Sarah asked. Elena consulted her tablet, proceeding ahead of schedule. The survivor species have proven remarkably compliant. The Kethari have volunteered to serve as manual laborers. The Zephyrians are providing their weather control technology in exchange for protection, and the Moltar have offered their entire merchant fleet to human authority. The irony was not lost on either woman. The species that remained alive had learned the lesson their extinct predecessors had refused to understand. Cooperation was preferable to extermination. Commander Torres, now Admiral of the Human Defense Fleet, entered the observation lounge with satisfied expression. The last of the resistance cells had been neutralized. The Velshin tried to organize an underground rebellion, but our intelligence networks identified them before they could act. Casualties? Sarah inquired. None on our side. The Velshin chose suicide rather than face integration. Their planets are now available for colonization. Sarah walked to the viewport, looking down at the world that had once housed a government that condemned her species to slavery. Construction robots worked around the clock, building monuments to human persistence and alien folly. Status report on the former labor camp survivors. Dr. Marcus Webb, now Secretary of Galactic Affairs, appeared on the communication screen. Physical rehabilitation is 90% complete. Psychological counseling continues, but most survivors are eager to participate in the colonization efforts. There's significant desire among former prisoners to claim homesteads on their captors' former worlds. Any moral concerns about our new policies? Webb paused before answering. Some of the younger survivors question the complete extinction approach. They argue that not all individuals within each species supported our enslavement. Sarah's expression hardened. 47 species voted unanimously to enslave humanity. Not one voice spoke in our defense. Not one species offered assistance when we begged for mercy. They made their choice collectively, and they faced the consequences collectively. Elena pulled up historical data on her tablet. The efficiency of our response has had the desired effect on surviving species. Submission rates are at 100%. Productivity in joint ventures exceeds projections, and cultural integration proceeds without resistance. Because they're terrified, Torres added with satisfaction, every alien child now learns about the Great Purge in their schools. They understand what happens to species that threaten humanity. The observation deck fell silent as the three humans contemplated their species' transformation. In less than 2 years, humanity had gone from helpless victims to galactic overlords, from enslaved laborers to the supreme power in known space. The moral philosophers back on Earth are calling us monsters, Webb reported quietly. They say we become the very thing we fought against. Sarah turned from the viewport, her eyes reflecting the cold calculation that had made human victory possible. The philosophers weren't chained to alien machines. They didn't watch their children sorted for genetic experimentation. They didn't spend 8 months planning the complete destruction of civilizations that saw them as livestock. She gestured toward the planet below, where human families were settling into homes built on alien graves. We gave the galaxy a choice. Treat us as equals or face extinction. They chose extinction. We simply fulfilled their decision more thoroughly than they anticipated. Elena brought up final statistics on her display. Galactic population before the Purge, approximately 400 billion sentient beings across 47 species. Current population, 4 billion humans and roughly 2 billion survivors from previously conquered species who now serve human interests. The galaxy is quieter now, Torres observed. More peaceful. No more wars between species. No more exploitation of weaker civilizations. Human authority provides stability. Sarah smiled for the first time in months. The Galactic Council ruled through fear disguised as civilization. We rule through honest fear backed by demonstrated capability. It's more efficient. As the meeting concluded, Sarah remained at the viewport, watching human ships ferry new colonists to their expanding territories. Somewhere in the distance, alien ships moved carefully along approved trade routes, their crews careful to broadcast proper deference signals to avoid the fate of their extinct predecessors. The galaxy had learned to fear humanity, and that fear had brought a peace that 12,000 years of alien civilization had never achieved. The species that had voted to enslave Earth had created something they never expected, a human empire that would rule the stars through the simple principle that crossing humanity meant complete annihilation. As Sarah watched the sunset over the former Galactic Council headquarters, now renamed Victory City, she felt satisfied that humanity's response to slavery had been appropriately comprehensive. The galaxy would never make the mistake of underestimating human fury again. In the end, the alien species had succeeded in teaching humanity about galactic civilization. The lesson they learned was that sometimes civilization required extinction-level fury to maintain its values. The stars themselves seemed quieter now, as if the universe itself had learned to respect the species that had turned slavery into systematic vengeance, and vengeance into lasting peace.